Hi, I'm Tony Vlahos for ExecuNet. If you're a senior executive, you're probably stretched and stressed, facing enormous pressure, and managing tremendous amounts of information through technology. It can be really difficult to sort through the demands and distractions and gain focus and clarity in making your most important decisions. My guest today has written a book to help you with all of this by incorporating mindfulness practices into your everyday life. Laurie Cameron is a noted teacher and mindfulness expert. She's the founder and CEO of Purpose Blue, an organization that brings evidence-based mindful leadership programs to all types of organizations. Her new book is The Mindful Day, Practical Ways to Find Focus, Calm, and Joy. And she joins me today to talk about mindfulness in the C-suite. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to be talking to
Good.
you. So show us that
Yeah.
wonderful book jacket, please. I'd like our
Okay.
viewers to see it. Isn't that
There it
awesome?
is. I
Really
love it.
cool. I do too.
The
From cover to
artist did a great
cover,
job.
they did,
Yeah.
and what's in between is filled with that same kind of energy, and I applaud you for it. It's a great, great read, everyone. You should totally check it out. So let's get into this. Laurie, mindfulness is something we hear a lot about in business circles these days. How do you define mindfulness?
So yeah, there's quite a revolution happening right now. And mindfulness can be thought of as paying attention to our direct experience in the moment with openness and curiosity. So, where our mind is not in the past, obsessing about something that happened this morning, it's not in the future, worrying and projecting and planning. We're actually paying attention to what we're doing in the here and now. And we're doing it without judging. That's the
Mm,
hard part.
yeah, I hear you. There was an event in your life that caused you to live more mindfully. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the defining moments for me was when I was in high school and my father had a heart attack. I was a junior, I was 16, and I was there actually and tried to uh, help him survive with CPR, and he didn't survive. He was 44. And that was so unexpected, and it was such a shock that from that moment on, I really had this heightened appreciation for the fragility of life, just the impermanence of it all. And it became an intensifier for me, and mindfulness became a way to really be present for the moments, the few moments in our life,
Yes, of
1,440
course.
a day.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So, what does it do for us? Mindfulness has been credited with improving focus and boosting productivity, lifting our moods. But tell me more about what being mindful really means in our everyday work lives as executives.
That's a great question because it can feel very conceptual or vague. And mindfulness in my everyday work life is when I am in a meeting and I'm actually paying attention to what's happening in the meeting. I'm listening to the person speaking. I'm um, I'm tuned into the agenda, to my role there, to my purpose. I'm watching the body language in the room. I'm noticing who's checked out, who's engaged, to kind of what's happening. So with mindfulness, we're present to our own thoughts and emotions, to what's happening with those around us, and to the larger environment, which can even be the ecosystem of my industry. If I'm in financial services or healthcare, kind of what's happening in that field and what's happening in the political landscape and the economic landscape that influences my mission and my work.
Mhm. So, can
So there's a
you
lot of paying
list?
attention.
Yes, of course. It's a great segue to the next question, which is about leaders and not defined or limited by chief executives, although there have been many chief executives in the news, both currently, but in the recent past, beginning with Steve Jobs, who practiced mindfulness meditation. I
Yeah.
think the CEO of Aetna is a proponent of meditation as well. Tell us what mindfulness really does for leaders, and specifically, what are the qualities of mindful leaders that we can all look at and say, wow, that does look like a big difference from the way I do things.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is that when we develop the skills of mindfulness, because mindfulness is a skill and it's also, you can think of it as a muscle. It's something that I practice and it gets stronger, like my bicep, and I'm able to exercise it on demand. So, mindfulness for leaders allows leaders to create space in their day. So
Mhm.
when they're in the midst of chaos and a lot of projects and initiatives and client and stakeholder demands, they actually can find space to lead. They can actually create micro moments and mindful pauses where they can stop and breathe and downregulate emotions and create clarity in the mind. And from that space, they can make really wise and skillful decisions. So
Mm.
that's the really the superpower of mindfulness for leaders.
Mhm.
And then I can answer the second part, which
Please.
is what are some characteristics of mindful leaders? I would say centered. And by that, I mean they have a sense of who they are and what their values are and what's important to them and how they want to show up with their clients and stakeholders. And if they get knocked off balance by a surprise call or news or a message from a stakeholder, they actually can return to that center. They have resilience. They can bounce back quickly.
Mhm.
Another attribute is clarity. So, mindful leaders have a capacity through cultivating self awareness over time, using mindfulness, paying attention to their own state and their own preferences, is they get really clear about what's important, what the next best action is, and clarity around what's happening in their company and environment. And
Mm.
then I would also say self aware.
Mm.
And that's really one of the foundational
That's a big one.
competencies of successful leaders.
Yeah, totally.
And
Thank you.
self-aware, okay, great. And I can, share more about that if you're interested. I'm
Oh,
sure you
totally.
talk about
Please.
that.
No, it's
Yeah, I'm
something that
I'm sure that's
we
a topic you talk about.
we do. We talk about it in different contexts. As you know, we're a membership here where executives come to us with all kinds of aspirations and challenges. And this idea of being present in the moment, aware of yourself, and then projecting who
Yeah.
you are authentically to whomever, whether it's your constituents at your office or your possible next employer. That's critical. So I think self-awareness, you've hit the nail there.
Yeah, well said, Tony. That I love how you said that. And also talking about that awareness helps us project very authentically to the outside who we want to be on the inside. That's a
Yes.
great word.
So there are going to be a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but some at least, watching us saying, well, that all sounds great, Laurie and Tony. But the reality is that I'm way too busy to make my mind quiet. I'm way too active to take a moment and be mindful. What do you say to them? I'm sure you've heard people like that before. What's our answer?
I hear that every day, and I so appreciate it. We are so overscheduled and overcommitted, especially in this gig economy we have now. And I'm the mindful leader partner to Deloitte, the professional services company, and they are so busy serving their clients all over the US. And I work with them. It doesn't matter if it's San Jose or Boston. They say, we don't have time. We love your programs, but I don't have time to do that. I can't take a day away from my client. And what they find is that when they carve out that one day to develop and learn these skills, they actually gain so much more time back because they learn to do things such as banish multitasking, which I also wrote about in the work
Yeah.
section of my book, that we feel so strapped for time that we do multiple things at once to try to gain time, but we actually learn that we lose time because switch tasking between different activities actually costs us more time and lower
Right.
quality. So we actually find out once we experiment with learning mindful leadership skills that we get time back.
Mhm.
That's the surprise.
Yes. So let's talk about another segment of our listeners who are thinking, this sounds really cool. I want to do this. I don't know where to get started. So what are some ways that simple, quick ways that someone who wants to be more mindful in the C-suite can get started? What are some tips you can share with us?
Okay, right away,
Mhm.
starting this minute and after they listen to this show, is they can practice 3 breaths. And so when they feel in their body some tightness, or they feel a sense of overwhelm, or they feel like they've got too much on their plate, or even anger or something difficult comes up, they take 3 breaths. The first is to bring attention to the breath. That gets your mind, your attention out of your spinning thoughts and into your body. The second is to relax the body, just relaxing, letting go of tension. And the third, on the third breath, you ask, what's important now?
Mhm.
And that question can help you realign to your top priority, to your essential task, or even to re engage with your client or partner if that's who you're talking to. So, 3 breaths is an immediate way to do it. I
Terrific.
also really encourage them to go to the mental gym in the morning. Just commit to 5 minutes a day of go to the same place every morning if you can, your favorite chair, favorite spot, and just practice bringing attention to your breath, the in breath, the out breath. When you get distracted, begin again. That's simple. But starting that positive habit every day will build the muscles so that you can do the 3 breaths whenever you need to.
Hmm. I love it because it's so simple and it just requires us to think for a moment and do it, and
Yeah,
we'll start to feel the changes happen, and it'll influence every aspect of our workaday life, but also our personal lives. Awesome. Well, thank you
so
so
true.
much, Laurie. I don't have any more questions. The book, again, is The Mindful Day, Practical Ways to Find Focus, Calm, and Joy, and it's available wherever fine books are sold. Laurie, thank you so much for making time for us today, and I look forward to hearing more from you. I think our audience will as well.
Thank you so much, Tony. And I invite your audience to join me at purposeblue.com. I'd love to have them in my mindfulness community. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Bye.